Hey y'all, Solitary Owl here with you. I decided in this episode what I'm going to do is talk more about how I came to make the decision to get into truck driving, and moreover to kind of give you guys a little bit of information on that in case you are yourself deciding or thinking about getting into this type of a career. So, as I was researching this some months ago, what I ended up doing was going to our local tech school, tech college, state college, and looked at basically taking a course there because that's what was showing up in a lot of my social media feed because I've been researching truck driving jobs. So I was referred out by them. They sent me out to basically talk to three different people. One was Schneider, one was Dot, and then the third one finally was who I ended up landing and going with was Continental Express out of Ohio. Um, there were different types of options and things that I noticed also though with the school and the schools that were available. There's a state one called Star in my home state, and there's a number of other carriers that are out there, um, and it seems some of them cater to certain types of people. So let's say that you're unemployed and your COVID money is about to run out. There are grants that are available for people to actually get that course, the CDL class. Typically, it's a 5 to 6 week course that you go to a school and they teach you how to drive a truck. There are some places that do it in their own facility, which is what I did. There are a number of ones that are out there, and what I decided to go with was one where it was a much smaller class size. I actually did get a signing bonus to where they actually paid me so much money a week to actually go and take the class. That worked out better for me, for my budget. I was employed at the time, so I basically had to leave one job to go to the other one, and it was the right choice for me. Unfortunately, what I'm finding in my former industry that I left was that my current friends and people that I know very well in the insurance business that work for insurance companies, if they weren't willing to show their vaccine card, or maybe they wouldn't even get the vaccine, um, they're being fired. Humana, United, Anthem, a number of these companies are firing their employees that won't show proof of vaccine card. And I'm going to try to stay out of the politics of that, but let's go Brandon. Okay, so that's where I'm at on that. Just so we're all a little clear. Um, so I ended up basically going to school, and mine was a 5 week course, and I had a really great instructor. In fact, I may actually get to interview him tomorrow. I'm going to be in the yard, and I think he's going to be there. So I'm hoping to kind of show you that guy. His name is Jeff, and he's a really terrific individual. I really appreciate him and being very patient with me as being a white collar guy that had never driven a big rig, and I went from doing that to shifting 10 gears in 5 weeks. And it's a skill that takes a lot of practice, a lot of patience, and whatnot. Um, so yeah, that was kind of the direction that I went. Is I went with that. When you're looking at some of these schools, what I actually noticed is that some of them they don't give you a guarantee of a job right out. Sometimes one of the places that I actually was considering going, that I actually visited, they had 15 to 17 people, men and women that were in a class, and so you don't get a lot of seat time. These backing procedures, some of them are very simple. Doing a straight line back is easy, but when you're doing the offsets to the right and left and blindside, it messes with you a little bit. So, and then parallel parking, 73-foot vehicle is not an easy task. I got fairly good at it because I had a really good instructor. I call him Mr. Miyagi, and because how he basically taught me was, he would teach you one thing, and then he would teach you another thing, and then he would put them both together. So we did a little backing here, a little backing there, and then we did all three backings, and eventually there are five backings that you have to do. So to be able to go take your state test. So to do CDL, you're going to have to get a DOT physical, that you'll have to pass a DOT physical. You need to go to your doctor or maybe a MedCheck walk-in place. A lot of places that do it. It runs about $100. And then you need to go to your state BMV or wherever it is that your license department for automobiles. And in my state, it was a 150 some page book. I studied the book, and there are 3 tests that you end up having to take anyway that I did. There are multiple ones, so you end up taking a basic written exam, which for me was 50 questions. And then you take one that is for air brakes. It's an additional test. It was 25 questions, I think, 20 or 25. And then there's one for combination vehicles. Now, there's other ones you can get endorsements for like hazmat, doubles and triples, various other endorsements. And you can add those at any time, or you can try and do them all at once. Each one is a test on its own and can vary between 20 to 50 questions. So, and then those stay on your license for life unless you do something and lose them. So that's kind of the process, is going to your BMV first, getting your permit. You have to take the exams. If you flunk it, you have to wait a day to go back and retake the exam. And then you need your DOT physical, and then you have to redo that every couple of years. So those are the 2 items that you'll need to start to get into a CDL class, which is what I did. And then once I did the class, then what happened was they made an appointment at the state BMV driving school exam place, and they took us down there. It's about a 2-hour exam, to where your instructor will basically make you do what's called the pre-trip. And that is where you basically walk around and basically touch almost everything in the engine compartment, everything down the side of the truck, everything in the back of the truck, under the truck, your fifth wheel, your brakes, your tires, your rims, lights, the DOT tape, all these different things that are part of a tractor trailer. And so once you do the pre-trip, which can take up about a half an hour, really, if you do it right, maybe even a little longer. And you should do it pre-trip, before you, go out on the road of a day. And we use electronic logs, and so we have to basically certify that I checked all these things every day before I get in the truck and drive. So once you've done your pre-trip, then you jump in the rig and you do the interior checks and all of your gauges, check your air brakes. There's a whole process of that. And so you go down and do those various different processes. And then once you've done that, then he goes, all right, you're going to do one straight line back, you're going to do an offset, and you're going to do a parallel, and they'll tell you either to the right or the left. And it's generated by the computer. I actually got sight side or driver's side backing that day. And then they make you drive a road course. Once you get those, you do 3 backs, the 3 different backs, straight line, offset, and parallel park. Once you do those 3, then you are taken out on the road, and they have a road course that only the instructor knows. And so they'll tell you, all right, you're coming up to this light, turn to the left on this road, and you put your signal on it. And so you do all these, the whole road course. You're allowed to mess up so many points. I actually bought 7 points in the entire 2-hour test, where I had to use a couple pull-ups as I was doing one of my offset backing. I goofed it up that one day, I was nervous, I was really nervous. So did straight line backing, and then he took me on the road course, and I did really well on that in the 10-speed. And then we get there, and he basically counts it up, and I'm like, did I pass? And he goes, oh yeah, man. So he basically shook my hand. I actually hugged the guy. I was like, oh my God, because I knew at that moment that was the first day of the rest of my life, that I now can have a job for life, that I'm under a 1-year agreement with Continental. I'm really enjoying this company. I'll get into some of the pros and cons of that later. Your dispatcher, you either love or hate him. And some days I do and some days I don't. So we'll get into that on another video. We'll talk about dispatch and some of that side of it. But anyway, that's the process that I went through. And if you're considering going through and getting your CDL, that's what you got to do. Have any questions, comment below. And hit like and be sure to subscribe. I appreciate you guys. Peace out.